Good evening. So thankful that you're here tonight. Appreciate you making a commitment, being dedicated to be together as God's family, and we can share here at fellowship, and we can pray together, we can sing together, reflect on God's Word, study together, and draw closer to our Father and each other as people. I might mention that if you're interested in the information details about Christian Cooper services, whether the visitation viewing or the funeral service or memorial service on Saturday, Ms. Connie, our secretary, has information available. You can contact her during working hours, myself, and we'll be happy to share that with you. You don't find it elsewhere online. Jesus teaches his disciples to be salt and to be light. It's important that you and I be light. What is the purpose of light? What is the advantage or the blessing that it provides? Light is not something for its own sake. Light is something that is of benefit to others around that they can see. We were maybe out on a hiking trip this evening, and we were walking along a trail. We all would want to have some form of light, whether it was some radiant light from the moon, the stars, or perhaps we might have a flashlight with a battery. And that provides light whereby we can walk along the path without stumbling. People around us are in darkness. People need to be able to find the way. You and I, as Christians, God's people, are to be light. But specifically tonight, we're talking about being an example. We're talking about being an example. In life, in any number of areas, we need examples. Sometimes in school, perhaps even in the home, maybe one child is not behaving as well as another child. And one child might be offered up as an example. To one child it might be said, see this child over here? See this child, how quiet this child is being. See how orderly, how well behaved so-and-so is. Observe that and imitate that example. In school, maybe it was in a math class, maybe it was in algebra, the teacher will be teaching various concepts, various principles. And there would be a lesson, a principle taught, and then various illustrations, various examples that would be presented on the chalkboard in order for the students to be able to grasp the point and the principle that is being taught at a given moment in time. Around us, there are people that are in need. There are people that need an illustration of what it means to be a God-fearing person. They need an example of what it means to be a child of God, what it means to be a Christian. There's any number of people around us who need examples. Can you think of any? Who needs examples of what it means to be a Christian? Okay, every one of us needs examples. Especially, I think about young children. Young children need examples. Also, those who are young in the faith. They need examples of what it means to be a person who is dedicated, a person who is zealous, a person who is faithful and loyal to the cause, a person who demonstrates what it means to love one's brothers in the Lord. So these are some people that need examples, as well as even those who are outside. They need examples of what it means to be a Christian. So now we're talking about being an example. What is God's goal for his children? God's goal for his people is to to develop as we go along in life to become more and more like Him. In our physical families, oftentimes there are various traits that we have. A child, a son, for instance, may have some of the traits of his father. As he speaks, as he carries himself, it might be obvious to people that didn't otherwise even know that this person is the offspring of another. And so, as we think about our study tonight, you and I, we as a family, we're to be in likeness to our Father. We're to be having the same traits, the same qualities as God has. So God's goal for His children is to become like Him. I want us to think about a few passages here, if I can pull this back up. First of all, in 1 Corinthians 11, verse 1, Paul is writing to his brethren at Corinth, and the passage in 1 Corinthians 11:1 reads, "Be imitators of me, as I am of Christ." So again, God's goal is for us to become like our Father. Another passage is Ephesians 5, verse 1. "Therefore be imitators of God as beloved children." This word imitators, and of course the King James Version has followers, but the word here is from a word which means mimic, to mimic. Therefore be imitators of God as beloved children. So God is the Father, we are His spiritual offspring. And we're to be mimicking Him. We're to be taking upon ourselves the Spirit of God. God is love. And so you and I are to be a people who love. God is holy. And therefore you and I are to exhibit not only love, but also holiness in our daily walk. So in John chapter 1, verse 18, in John 1, verse 18, the Bible says that no one has ever seen God. The only God who is at the Father's side, He has made Him known. Some translations have declared Him. He has declared Him. The idea is that Jesus, through His life and ministry, has made the Father known. So, no one has ever seen God. No one has ever seen the Father. So, how are you and I to know what the Father is like? We know what the Father is like as we delve into the gospel narratives, as we study, use our minds to think about the life, ministry, the teaching, the heart of Jesus. When you and I see Jesus, we are seeing what the Father is like. Romans 8, verse 29, we're reminded that God wants us to be conformed to the image of His Son. In 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 21, we're taught that we're to become like Christ, to be like Jesus, because He left us an example. We'll ask for just a moment if someone might turn in their Bibles to 1 Peter 2, verse 21. If you'd like to read that for us, I'd appreciate it. 1 Peter 2, 21. Okay, so again, we have the word example. The word example. 1 Peter 2, verse 21. Example here it comes from a word which has been defined as a writing copy. Essentially, a pattern that is to be imitated. I believe it's still a common practice. Think back in the day when you were in school. Maybe it was kindergarten or first grade. And you were there in school and you were learning to write your letters, the alphabet. And sometimes there was the alphabet above the chalkboard. There was the capital and lowercase, A through Z. And so it could be that you or some child might forget a letter, how it was formed. It was a process of learning. It was a process of growing. And so the child might look up there at the chalkboard, above the chalkboard, and see how to write that letter, how to properly form the capital B. And so the child sets out with his pencil in hand and the paper, and he begins to make marks on the paper, making the letter B. Now, a lot of times, at least in the early days, that letter that was drawn on the paper was imperfect. But the child could look up there at the writing copy, and it was perfect. It was accurate. It was correct. So that writing copy was right. It was correct. But mine sometimes was imperfect. Sometimes it was not formed exactly right. And that's the way it is with Christ. Christ is the perfect, if you will, the perfect writing copy. You and I, we are imperfect. But just as a child, that child over time, drawing that letter B, over time, it becomes better. There's improvement. There's growth. There's a big difference over time. Let's suppose this compare from kindergarten to 6th grade, for instance. By the time the child has got to 6th grade, the alphabet looks really good on the child's paper, right? And that's the way you and I are to be as we mature in time. We're imperfect. We'll always be imperfect. But we're to be continually looking to the example. We're to be looking to the model. To be formed according to that pattern. Jesus is the example, and you and I are to be following his example. As we follow the example of Jesus Christ, we become an example to others. The Apostle Paul, going back to 1 Corinthians 11, verse 1, the Apostle Paul was he was mimicking the example of Jesus. And as he was following the pattern of Jesus, he was becoming an example for others who was looking to him. So everyone needs examples, as Russ already stated. I believe it was Russ. Everyone needs examples. And every one of us are to be an example to others. Because there are people around us who have need. Some people may not ever read or learn about God except they read the book of our lives. They're looking at us. They're seeing what is different about us. 1 Timothy 4 and verse 12 is another passage of interest. 1 Timothy 4 verse 12, let no one despise you, Paul writes to Timothy, let no one despise you for your youth, but set the believers an example in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, in purity. The example here in 1 Timothy 4 verse 12 is from tupos, and means a mark made by striking. A mold to shape something else. Timothy was to be a mold that should press the lives of others so they could attain the same shape. When I was a young boy, sometimes I would visit my grandmother, and she used to make biscuits, homemade biscuits. And what I wouldn't give for one of her homemade biscuits today. And she would make her dough by hand, and she would roll it out on some wax paper on the counter. And she would take an instrument, and she would press it into the dough and she would cut out her biscuits. That was form of a mold. They were uniform. That was a mold. People in the automotive industry, there are molds that are used to make various parts of the automobile, whether it's a hood, whether it's a fender, the bumper, whatever the case may be. There's a mold that is used. And that mold makes uniform parts. They're the same. They look the same. It's an example of what a bumper is supposed to look like. So tonight, as we continue our study, we're going to spend some time in 1 Timothy 4, verse 12. 1 Timothy 4, verse 12. Again, the Bible says, be an example in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, in spirit, and in purity. First of all, tonight, Timothy was to be an example in word. In word. That is, the language, or the words that he would use, and how they were used. So we think back to the teaching of Jesus from Matthew 12, verse 34. We're reminded that words are indicative of the condition of one's heart. The son Jesus addressed on that occasion, in Matthew 12:34, he asked, how can you speak good when you're evil? For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So Jesus here is simply teaching that the words that are conveyed, the words that you and I use, and sometimes words that are used by the world are awful. Words that they're just not fitting to be spoken or be heard by human ears. And sometimes I fear that even among us, whether we are with family or whether we're maybe with co-workers, sometimes there are words that come from our mouths that are unbecoming of a Christian. Timothy was to be an example in word, in the speech employed. You and I are to be an example for others in our speech. Ephesians 4:29. Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths, but only such as is good for building up, as fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear. So you and I are to speak words that are helpful, words that are healthy, words that are good, words that build up, edify those who hear. Ephesians 4:31, let all bitterness and wrath, anger and clamor, that is quarreling, and slander be put away from you, along with all malice. So those qualities that we're to put away from us are words that, if we're not careful, can be conveyed in our speech. We can use words of slander, words of malice. As Christians, you and I ought not to be shouting at one another. In the home, we should not be shouting at our children. We should not be shouting at our mate. We shouldn't be screaming at one another. We need to keep ourselves under control. We need to use proper, helpful, and healthy words. So Timothy was to be an example in word. This also has its application in sharing the gospel with others. When you and I are teaching others, we should speak the truth in love. Paul teaches, speak the truth in a spirit of love. And so again, how we speak shows what's on the inside. We may think that we can conceal it, but it will come out in the words that we employ. I'll pause for just a moment before we move to the next one and see if there's any discussion or anything you'd like to add to these remarks. Starting to be an example in word. Yes, brother.
Have an example that
It's a wonderful story. I doubt anybody can hear that back there in the back, but good for him and good for you. Good for you for helping him. As we mentioned a moment ago, it's a process. We don't go from being a baby to an adult immediately. There's a transitioning that takes place over time as we grow more and more into the image of Christ. Anything else? You know, would remind me to pray for somebody, maybe have me look back and see what it is before we close out. The next one is Timothy was to be an example in conduct. Not only was to be an example in word and his speech, but also in his behavior. Timothy was to be an example in the way he lived his life before others. There are things Christians are to do to glorify our Father in heaven. On the other hand, there's things that we're to avoid, things we're not to practice or participate in, whether we are alone or in a company of people. 1 Timothy 3, verse 15. 1 Timothy 3:15. Paul writing to the young evangelist Timothy, by the way, you may know how one ought to behave in the household of God, which is the church of the living God, a pillar and buttress of the truth. So Paul was teaching Timothy and writing to Timothy in order that he might know how a Christian ought to behave, so that he could teach that to others through his verbal teaching, but also through his manner of life. Timothy preached a standard of conduct that others were to follow. Timothy also was to practice what he preached. You and I as Christians, we subscribe to a certain standard. We were teaching our children, grandchildren, teaching a neighbor. There's a certain standard of conduct that we teach them as to how a Christian is to conduct himself, regardless of what the occasion or the setting might be. But what that standard is that we teach with our mouth is the same standard you and I are to live by. It's not just a standard for others. It's a standard for me. The Apostle Paul, if you recall, he taught about bringing himself under control. He does certain things, lest when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway. So Paul himself recognized the importance of not just teaching a certain standard of moral conduct, but also to live according to the same principle. Sometimes in life there are people that think that they are above the law. They, whether it's legislators, maybe it's people in government, people in law enforcement. Sometimes people can have the notion because of the power that they have come to have that they are above the law and that they enforce the law for others, but they live according to a different standard, a lesser standard. May it never be. It shouldn't be for elders. It shouldn't be for deacons. It shouldn't be for preachers. There's not one set, or there's not one standard for those who are leaders, and a different standard for those who are, members of the pew, if you will. There is one standard, and all of us are to subject ourselves to that same standard. We'll pause for just a moment and see if there's any additional discussion with reference to being an example in conduct. We need to behave ourselves at all times in such a way that we glorify our Father. Timothy also is to be an example in love. An example in love. We talk from time to time about motivations. We need motivation to do certain things. And certainly we need motivation for speaking and acting right. And love is the greatest motivator for doing both of those things. Timothy can be an example in his love for God. Are you and I an example for our family members? Are we an example for our community, our neighbors and friends and co-workers in our love for God? Is our love for God something that is growing over time? Sometimes people in their relationships describe what has taken place as falling out of love. Have you fallen out of love with God? Have you allowed your love to wane over time? Or is your love growing and growing and growing because of a recognition of God's goodness, a recognition of His fervent love for you and me? God taught His people back in the Old Testament to love God, to love Him with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. You and I need to love. Timothy to be an example in his love for God, as do you and I. Love for God always manifests itself in obedience to Him. Jesus taught in John 14, verse 15, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. What is our purpose as humanity? Is it not to love and obey our Father? Not only should Timothy be an example for others in his love for God, but also an example in his love for others, too. Timothy was to be an example in his love for others. Love is not passive. Love is active. Love is not just mere words. Love is something that we manifest through our behavior, through our kindness, through our service, through these kind of things to and for to bless one another. You and I need to be an example of loving one another. Pause for just a moment and see if there's any additional remark concerning being an example in love. Yes, Mike.
I want to back up a little bit to the conduct part.
Okay.
People are watching you even when you don't think they are. Okay? And, I read somewhere that psychologists say that when you have a negative interaction with somebody, it takes about 10 positive interactions to kind of balance that out. It's not a one-for-one.
Right.
So, people catch you slipping one time, and in their mind, that's how you are all the time. And some folks out there, especially folks out in the church, want to see you fail. So it's something to think about.
That's exactly right.
People, you're an example even when you don't want to be.
So we've got to be careful about letting our guard down. People are watching continuously, even when we do not realize it. And maybe even we ourselves. Someone today was talking about how there's a certain part of our brain that is reading and picking up things without actually being cognizant of that. We're continually taking in information. And so we are learning things, for instance, if I use this illustration, as I look across the assembly tonight, you're out here. I'm not really thinking about it, but if I pause to think about it, as I look across the assembly, my mind is taking in images, and I'm seeing your interest. I'm seeing whether you're asleep, whether you fall out on the floor. Those are things that I pick up as I'm going along. But so we do pick up on things we don't necessarily even realize we're picking up on. So people are watching, even when we don't realize it. The recorder is always going. And so people are watching. We need to be careful about that guard down. And as Mike pointed out, when we do slip, it takes a while to regain that. And I think it's on the hand back to Sherry.
Paul told Timothy that no one despised you. Youngsters are watching our assembly. We're quite like yourself in teenager. I'm an 18,000 camp counselor. Camp, I had that full of 8-year-olds. And on Sunday, when mom's and dad would pick them up, here's one of the little girls said, "Miss Sherry, when I grow up, I want to be just like you." And it dawned on me that they were watching my example.
That's exactly right. They're drinking it, taking it all in. That's exactly right. Thank you, Sherry. Anything else? Yes.
I was thinking about some of the members of this congregation, for example, Bill Maddox. His health problem. He's here every time that he can. He's an encouragement and a good example for me and probably for the rest of the congregation. There's others who have stopped and care every time they can. Health problems. So they're good, faithful Christians that show us the way. He was the example, he was the pattern to follow. And not only that, the young kids, people I sent, he was the example to the kids. And joy. That we can imitate.
Okay, thank you. So even our young people are providing examples for others, for us. I think for us. Yes, Vern?
And I'm looking at being an example, looking at in word, in conduct, and in love. There's times when we profess to have forgiven one another, and sometimes our words don't reflect that. Sometimes our conduct doesn't reflect that we have forgiven. Sometimes our manner of interacting display a lack of love because of certain things that have transpired earlier on. So we have to be mindful of that. Those examples can cause each one of us to question our Christianity.
Okay, thank you. So we have to be careful that our behavior measures up with what was stated concerning in the area of forgiveness. Let's move on to another one. Timothy is also an example in spirit. In spirit. So this is talking about the inner person. In spirit, first one's character. And the spirit obviously is invisible, but just like the words that we express, that they can tell about what's in the heart, so it is concerning our behavior. Our behavior, our actions indicate the nature and the condition of our inner man, our spirit. So he was being an example of spirit. You and I, someone mentioned a little about the children, being cheerful, joyful. And certainly it's important that you and I as Christians, that we are cheerful, that we are hopeful, that we are moving forward in our Christian walk in such a way that others want to participate in the Christian life. Timothy is also an example in faith. In faith. And it comes to the word in the context refers to Timothy's fidelity or faithfulness. So Timothy needed to be a Christian that was loyal to his father. He needed to be loyal to Jesus, the one who came and went to the cross and died for him. Jesus paid a terrible price, made a tremendous sacrifice for Timothy and for you and me. And we need to be faithful. The Bible teaches us time and again concerning the faithfulness of God. God is faithful toward you and me. God will not break his covenant that he has entered into with you and me as people. You and I need to be loyal, faithful, and true to God in this covenant. Finally, this evening, Timothy was being an example in purity. In purity. This word that is used here is found only in 1 Timothy 4:12 and also in 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 1 or 2. And it refers to sexual purity or chastity. And chastity is defined as innocent of unlawful sexual relations, pure in thought and act. So Timothy was to keep his fleshly desires under control and set an example in this for others to follow. Just like I mentioned a few moments ago about Paul the Apostle, that was in the same context. Paul said, I buffet my body and bring it into subjection. Timothy was to keep his body under subjection. We have desires, and we have to make sure that those are only exercised in the proper channels that God has provided, of course, in the context of biblical marriage. So Timothy was called to be an example. And inasmuch as Timothy was being an example in word, in conduct, in behavior, in love, spirit, faith, and purity, so it is that you and I are to be a model, we're to be an example for others around us to follow. Again, let me ask this question. If everyone looked to you and me, if everyone looked to me, you say this yourself, if everyone looked to me, that is, all the young people, the children here in the congregation, all the young in the faith look to me, if others in the body of Christ look to me and follow my example as a Christian, what kind of church would this be? That's a question you and I need to ask. We need to look at our hearts, we need to look at our lives, and think about the example that we're setting for our children, for those who are babes in Christ, and for everyone in general. He was to be an example to the believers. You and I are being an example. Being an example is not just for the elders. Truly, the elders are to be an example of what it means to be a faithful, developed, mature Christian. That's a fact. Deacons should be an example in a variety of ways as a Christian, especially in the area of ministry. Because that's their job. That's the meaning of the deacon, to be serving. And so, preachers, it's not, preachers are to be a model of what it means to be a Christian. But it's not just the elders, the deacons, the Bible class teachers, and the preachers. It's you. Whoever you are to be an example. You're to be that writing copy so that somebody can look at your life and know what it means to be a Christian. Appreciate your being here tonight, for your participation. If you give me just a moment, I need to look at something, we've got a prayer request.